What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Gig App Worker Rodeo Roundtable discussion thing we do that every week. It's either season 4, episode 2, or it's season 5, episode 1. I guess we'll decide how this goes tonight. Might just do a season every week, and then or like 3 episodes per season. I don't know. What's up, everybody? Though
47th episode, 47th season.
And you guys, tonight I'm gonna try something. Cheyenne's not here with us. She's in Toronto working or somewhere working.
I feel weird being on this side. Normally I'm on that side. I feel weird.
Yeah. Oh, I should have done it.
Oh, there we go.
There. Kim feels better. But one thing I'm gonna try and do, even if we don't discuss it like while we're talking, I'm gonna just try and bring up everybody's hellos or whatever quickly, and they might just come up quickly at the bottom because a lot of you watch on like Kim's channel or mine, and then maybe you're wondering what we're commenting about sometimes because some of these chats, like, it's not like Restream. You're not seeing all the chat, and there's no really fix for that. And Restream even would only play it on our screens. But just to make, because sometimes we'll be commenting about something and maybe you're in one chat going, wait, where's this going on? So we'll try and bring it all around. I'm going to just keep an eye on all of that. We do have Kim's side money plans here tonight. Tom Kelly is in, what is this, the moon change thing, whatever?
No, tonight's
there's a lunar eclipse tonight.
Lunar eclipse tonight, buddy.
Right, yeah.
You're so up on your science.
Yeah, it's what I do. It's been a long week for me, guys. I'm gonna pull it around, pull my energy right now, get this going on. So we got some stories here that are gonna bring you all down for sure. No, but I mean they're just we got some weird ones.
We get a sad one here in Houston too.
There's a sad one in Houston. There's a couple sad ones and I saw more sad ones this week for delivery drivers than I did for rideshare drivers, which is just crazy. I mean, I saw delivery stories everywhere. In fact, I'm going to just jump around a little bit with what I have here. So let me start with what happened here in Denver. Maybe this will kind of, now this one the person did not get killed, but this just happened. Let's see, when is this from? Happened March. Or the incident was January 15th, but this is the reporting on it now that they've kind of filed it all through it. But it's here in Denver. It's not far from my house. It's actually closer to downtown, which is where you would not expect this. But Brian Elis, 58, faces homicide charges for firing a gun at a dispute over a food delivery last January. So here's what it is. I mean, we can hear 100 of these, but this is how stupid it is. So a DoorDash delivery driver goes to, if you're from Denver, I'm just going to say it because it says it in the article, to Downing and Martin Luther King. So that's going to be near, if you're anyone familiar with Denver, you're going downtown, you're kind of near the new Rhino district where everything's $750,000 for an apartment. But there's still some older areas mixed in and whatnot. And so the DoorDash delivery driver came to bring Mr. Elias his food, and Mr. Elias fired a round at him and told him to give him the money back for the order because he had eaten some of the food. Then he fired another round over his head and told him to get out. Now, this is in an apartment complex. A neighbor filmed it through their door.
How did he know that he ate something? Like
he didn't. He was just trying to not pay. He just wanted money from the guy. He was trying to rob him from his house. I mean, first of all, if he did eat something, like how is he supposed to pay it back? I don't know about you guys, but I don't carry a lot of cash on me when
I carry no cash on me because of reasons like this.
You guys know the big change that was announced this week
for cash, but that's going to be one of those things everybody opts out of, and nobody carries cash anymore. Doesn't matter. Everybody's going to just use their DoorDash account anyway. not pay cash.
I
I just found
we'll
this
see.
just absolutely ridiculous. So the guy goes back into his apartment. Police show up and they arrest him. He goes to jail and he's now out on a $50,000 bond. So he's out of jail too for it. I mean, till court, but whatever. To me, it's just ridiculous. Like, I saw a bunch of these. I mean, I was seeing one about Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where this guy like unloaded in a DoorDasher's face. This was a while back, but he just got convicted for life. But he took 3 shots in the guy's face for food. Or are these just psycho people? Like, I don't really get it.
Yeah, what got me, there was an article this week, I don't even saw it, and I can't remember what part of the country it was, but I guess it happened like months ago that a delivery driver delivered to the wrong house, and the owner of the house came out and shot at, did you see this? That they shot at the door, I think it was DoorDash. They shot out the DoorDash driver, and then the DoorDash driver called the cops. The cops came and arrested the homeowner, and then I guess the whole article was about that the charges were dropped because the delivery driver didn't proceed with the filings of the court.
Okay, so here's the story. Kim is talking about a story from Tempe, Arizona.
Okay, there we go. I couldn't remember what part of the country it was from.
The guy never shot a gun. The guy legally owned the gun, and he did not pull the gun on the driver. Actually, there were 2 drivers. There were 2 dashers. For whatever reason, they say that, even though it's not legal. The one that was a woman. So what they did was they delivered food to Gerald Lemansky's house. He's a veteran. He lives there with his wife. He owns a gun legally. He keeps it locked up properly. And somebody came, the DoorDash couple, the wife or the woman ran up, dropped the food off. They got out of there and realized it was the wrong place. So she went back to get it. And as she came up, he stepped out and he was like, "What the hell? What are you doing running up and down on my property?" And they got into a very heated verbal discussion. She went into the car and called the police, and they drove a little bit away. And she said that he pulled a gun on her. The police came and arrested him, even though they had to search the house and find a locked gun in a closet. And it was the only gun in the house. So this old man had run back and hit it. I mean, I just don't buy that he pulled a gun on her. The story doesn't read that way. And in fact, this story is now that he's suing the city of Tempe. He's suing DoorDash, and he's suing 14 police officers, all independently, because he was
he had the right to carry, right? That's what he's going after.
But he didn't. Yeah, but he didn't carry it anyway.
Right.
That's the thing. She said he had a gun. He didn't have a gun. He was just yelling at her because twice he saw her on the porch, and he didn't really know what was going on. He'd already brought the food in, but he's like, "What?" And they didn't order the food. It wasn't his food. So I guess they got into something heated, and then. But here's the kicker that I find really weird. So you hear this story. It's a lot of hearsay. There's no camera catching any of this. And so Lemansky denied pointing a weapon at all. He said he had only asked the delivery workers to leave his property. See, that's another thing that maybe they both came up because that worried him. Why are 2 people up on my porch? But anyway, it's his property, whatnot. And both parties eventually called the police. Both parties. So with the delivery worker saying they had just been threatened at gunpoint, situation quickly escalated. The Lemansky's wife. So officers arrived in large number. They told me to evacuate the house. I didn't understand why. That's a quote from his wife. Police arrested Lemansky and searched his home, finding 1 legally owned firearm. He was charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault and 1 count of disorderly conduct based on the delivery worker's statements. Lemansky spent a night in the Tempe City Jail, sleeping on the floor, and then he was actually transferred to Maricopa County, Durango Jail, and it took 3 days for him to bond out at $100,000. So they had to get a bondsman to write $100,000, and he's still paying this back. So he was, because of this being a crime scene for whatever reason, even after the 3 days, he had to live somewhere else for a month. Him and his wife had to get another place for a month. And then, so he was throwing all that into this lawsuit about he wants $350,000 from the city for pain and suffering, all this stuff. But the charges against him were dropped in October after a review by Maricopa County's attorney's office because of lack of evidence, including that the DoorDash workers refused to cooperate with police, according to court records. I want to know how this guy was ever arrested. So, like, if I call DoorDash, 2 DoorDash people can have me arrested and say I pointed a gun at them? I don't think so. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I'll fight that one to the T. I'll have a great attorney. I don't even see how that's a thing. So, but yeah, so in December, the couple filed a notice of claim against Tempe and the officers involved in the arrest, alleging his rights were violated and that the arrest was unlawful. And then there's a little caveat here that says, in Arizona, a notice of claim is required before a lawsuit against a public entity or employee. Not really sure what all that is.
I think they had to give the city a 30-day notice that they were going to be sued by this, if I read it correctly, the person who was suing them. Like, you can't just like serve them papers. Like, you have to give them notice that they're being, I don't know.
Isn't that what serving them is?
I don't know. It's whatever their crazy laws are.
I know, but that's funny to me because that's what serving them is. You've been served. It's not like you have court that afternoon. You have time to call an attorney, and
yeah.
I don't know. To me, this kind of stuff makes no sense, and especially I'm gonna be honest. It makes no sense that it was in Arizona either. I mean, it seems like if Tom were telling me this about Texas, I would be like, really, in Texas?
I don't know. Only thing I kept thinking about, though, is like, how many times does your GPS get addresses wrong? If you're not paying attention and you're just going by GPS, especially if like you're a new driver and you don't know to like compare what's in front of you to what your phone says, it can so easily happen to deliver to the wrong address. I had a really bad experience with this like 2 or 3 years ago, and it scared the living out of me.
Yeah, I mean, and I think none of us are immune to the fact that many house lights aren't even lit. So like Kim said, if you're going by your GPS, whatever you're choosing is, you pick your poison and it says, oh, it's that one. By just walking up there blindly, you potentially, I've gone up to the wrong house.
Well, in my case, I didn't go to the wrong house. It was a completely pitch black house. And I went to go put it on the porch. I had the correct address. And the guy opened the door and he's like, you need to get off my property immediately. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just a DoorDash driver. And I quickly ran away. And he's just like, what are you doing here? And I said, I have a delivery for blank address. Is this your address? He goes, yes. I didn't order anything. His nephew, who was staying with him like a month ago, had ordered it to his address and not his new address, and sent me to the wrong address. So it wasn't even me, but the guy was so nasty and so mean. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I was like, walking really quickly.
I had that was supposed to go to an apartment complex, but the GPS sent me to an oil well. We actually have oil wells around here. And so I'm driving down and it's like, make a right turn here. And there's nothing here but an oil well with a fence around it.
Did you leave the food and take a picture with the oil well in the back?
The guy called, and this was really early in the morning. And the guy called and said, are you at an oil well? I said, I am. He said, something's really wrong with Uber. I'm at the apartment complex behind Buc-ee's over there. It's like, okay, yeah, I can see you. So I just drove over there, but I mean, it was really weird. The GPS, the address was right, but that's where the GPS took me.
I had one time the GPS put me in the middle of a graveyard in the middle of the night. I'm like, this isn't right.
Graveyard. Ooh.
Yeah, obviously I didn't enter, but that's where GPS had me going. And I'm like, well, this isn't right.
Yeah. And I mean, and then you have like weird things like, you have your faster GPSs, like Waze or Google Maps or whatever you guys might prefer. But then you have the in-app ones that try and drive you by other restaurants. So you have to avoid those because they're wanting you to have to pick up a Taco Bell order if one comes through while you're going past it. So they actually kind of, I don't know. There's a whole little thing that, you know what? I actually just want to bring that up because DoorDash does everything wrong. But it's funny to me that they have an on-time meter, right? That, oh, you got to be there by this time. And then at the end of my dash, they evaluate my driving.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Well, you probably have it turned off. I tell everybody at this point,
No,
turn it
I
on,
don't
you
have
guys.
that.
You don't have telematics?
I mean, I have the hard braking and the
And rapid acceleration.
That's it. I don't have I don't have the on timing, the on timer.
You don't have a on-time delivery?
No.
You do in your stats.
It's been the same percentage for like 5 years. It's never changed.
Maybe when you're like top dasher, they take it out. I don't know. Can anybody else confirm that? Because I don't know. Everybody I know has it. Yeah, and I know it doesn't change. It really, because that's another weird thing. So DoorDash does different things, different metrics for different things. So they use the last 100 rides when evaluating your AR, but your on timeness is rated on your all-time rides. So instead of a rolling 100, if you've done 1,500, it's on 1,500. So you actually at some point will kind of get locked in your on time, and it's never going to move, like Kim said. But it's like, can't you just have everything be a rolling 100? First of all, it's just stupid because every one of these metrics is not legal. But I think it is funny to me that they use two stats that are illegal to use that contradict each other. This delivery has to be by this time. You were rapid accelerating. That's because you told me I had to be somewhere by a certain time. I mean, first of all, they don't belong in this game. You guys know that Kim and I did some work last year with Display Ride, which, still check them out, obviously. But I mean, they do real telematics. Like they understand telematics. The DoorDash app just is literally your phone and its movement speeds. Like, that's not telematics. And it's not a stat that they should be selling on us because they're not qualified. It's like when Uber calls themselves a tech company. They're not. They're a switch company. That's it. They're a digital dispatch platform. That's all they are. But when they need to, they call themselves a tech company. The same thing with DoorDash. Well, we got this. You're not tech. You didn't write that code. You don't know how to evaluate telematics. And you shouldn't be applying. I know that all these people have turned it off, or most of the people I know have turned off the telematics because you can. That doesn't turn it off, though. We all know that, right? You all know that means you're still being tracked. You're just not seeing the results. You've decided I don't want to see them. I leave it on because I take a picture at the end of every dash because I like to see what they're saying about me, and I like to think about how that night went. Because it also says at the bottom, we don't use this for any. Yeah, right. It's like that kind of stuff is hilarious to me. Really, you're just tracking information that you don't use at all.
Well, I turned it off because clearly they don't take into account states that are highly populated and have very high traffic rates. So I just turned it off because, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not even going to get into this one too much, although it's a huge win. We covered the Tempe thing, but this has been going on for a long time, you guys. I don't know if you're aware, but even on the consumer side of Uber, Tom, you're probably aware of this. The riders actually have checkboxed away some rights, just like us drivers have. I mean, like they've checkboxed away a lot of rights, actually. And the biggest one that has been challenged over the past 3 years plus, but the last 3 years, there's been something trying to get to where they got to now. Finally, we can talk about this. We could have talked about it before too, but one of the things that they checked away was that you can't sue Uber in a class action type case. You can't get together with people and sue them for the same thing. And a lot of people might think, well, that's a good thing because then, if you have a lawsuit, you want to have it yourself, not a class action, like small settlement. No, it makes it next to impossible to make anything happen against these companies for this. But March 12th, so yesterday, finally, the Ninth Court in California, which usually rules crazy, stupid stuff, actually ruled. This is the Ninth Court of Appeals, disagreed, allowing more than 1,600 cases to continue in San Francisco before a single judge. So he finally, they had already recommended this, but the Uber took it through appeal, everything. Now they can sue. These are all people who were sexually assaulted. Now they get to sue and go under one judge. And there's talk in this article about that going nationwide too. And also the litigators for the ladies or people who were sexually assaulted, I shouldn't just say ladies, experts said the litigation is being followed close by home sharing platforms, dog walking services, and other independent contractor apps. So I went down that hole for a little bit, and there's tons of sexual assault claims on Instacart and others too. Like, I am dog walking. I don't know what the hell. Maybe I'm sure some of these people, maybe it didn't happen, but it's pretty sad that the company fights this to death. Whatever makes them win money, we're gonna not allow that. In fact, that's what they were claiming this whole time was, well, if you read it was literally, I think it even says something about it. If you read the small print, is how they even said it. If you read the small print, it says you can't sue us. Sorry, you got molested. And then you got these ladies saying that, they're talking about a lot of things about how, drivers are not, they're not vetted. They're not trained. We have no idea who these people are. A lot of things so hundreds of rape survivors claim the tech giant skimped on driver background checks, failed to report sexual violence to police, and allowed sex offenders to drive for the company.
Well, okay. Can I comment on that?
Go.
First, let me say that I strongly believe anyone who's guilty of sexual offenses like that should be taken out back and shot like a dog in the back of the head. Okay, I have no sympathy whatsoever. You can castrate them first or whatever. I don't care. They're all worthless scum. However, who did you think you were getting the car with? Seriously. Come on. You got to use a little sense here. No, we are not properly vetted. Everybody, you got to be living under a rock to think that Uber drivers are properly vetted. We are not properly vetted. This is why no Uber driver should ever pick up anybody under 18 who are by themselves. But to say, this is like the people, what was the movie, Casablanca? I'm shocked that there's gambling going on here. You're shocked. You're shocked that people are being sexually abused in cars like this? You can't be. You can't be shocked. You can tell me about how unfair it is. Do they, Bubba? I don't think they do. I don't think the customers think we're
I think that Bubba Sue's point is, listen, if I'm going to pay for a product, I expect that product to deliver the things I would expect that product to deliver. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying.
I don't think customers think about it. I think customers just want what they want when they want it on any one of the platforms. So if I want an Uber, I'm going to call Uber. I want an Uber. I don't even think they think about who's delivering it, who's picking them up. I don't think it crosses their mind.
I guess I'm much more cynical. I just assume everybody's out to do their own thing, and the bad guys are going to be bad guys. And and what do you do with the people who are faking being Uber?
But what about this? What about the part of the complaint that reads, the sexual offenders, and these aren't people who were using fake accounts, slipped through the cracks and were able to drive. I mean, that's an easy catch. Even Checker's $25 background check should catch that.
Absolutely. And Uber should pay millions and millions of dollars if they let somebody through who did that. But the thing of it is, and this is the scary thing about it, guys, I mean, the really crafty people who go out and they shape children and they do this thing and that thing with women, they don't get caught. Okay? They don't have a criminal background. So we have to be incredibly careful who we let those in our society who are more susceptible to being hurt in one way or another need to be better protected across the board.
Yeah.
And it's not something our society has ever taken seriously. We talk about it, we whine about it, we get on the news, and we do a couple of episodes on Dateline in 48 hours about it, and then we all go about our business and nobody really jumps on it and gets serious about it. But the really crafty people, the people that you should be scared of, they don't have a criminal background.
I mean, I hear everything you're saying, and I don't disagree. I'm just the part that, I mean, like, first of all, Uber, up your game from Checker. I worked with Checker with Paraworks. I was blown away because we would catch things because we were such a smaller scale. We would catch things and go, wait, are you sure this? And they'd run it again and be like, oh, no. I mean, the only thing that they're good at is severely failing. If you've moved states within 5 years, they most likely will screw up your check, and it could take about a month. So something flags that, and it could take about a month to clear it up. But if you're a sexual offender, somehow you slip through the crack, come on, man, that's tied to your Social Security. That should be just a given. You're out. And it should be sent to every platform. This person's out. He's a sexual offender. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. And I know that it's not a fair comparison because as Tom was just pointing out, in this country.
Steve, before you go to the next one, can I just reverse it real quickly? As drivers, shouldn't we have all of our riders also?
100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, didn't we even bring that up last week? We were talking about, like, there were those riders who were like, dude, or the driver saying, why don't they have to have a real name? And why don't they need facial rec? We know it doesn't work, guys, but if they're going to do it on us, the drivers, at least do it to scare the customers. Like, oh no, they have my face. I better not rape them, or whatever is going through your head. Scare them with the facial recognition. It doesn't work, but scare them.
Yeah.
I mean, and make sure that they have to have their, like Kim said, that at least their real first name. I'm sorry. And if you're buying a car or if you're renting a ride for somebody else, that needs to be a different process. I know that Uber doesn't want to ever distract from a ride, even if that ride's $3 and somebody's going to get raped. They don't care. They want that $3. I get that. I don't agree with it at all. I think it's horrible. But if you can call for another rider, that rider should have to take a picture of their ID or something that uploads to you. And then when they come to the car, you can say, oh, Tom bought you a ride. You're such and such. And they go, yeah.
Well, I always say something like, if it's a guy and he gets in the car, I'll say, well, that's funny. You don't look like a Sharon.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, and I'm not talking about drunk people who might fight you, but or be like in that kind of mode, but be very careful if you're doing rideshare at night. Tom knows this. I know this. Be really careful, you guys. When it's surging and stuff, sometimes you really want to take that ride. But if you pull up to somebody that's hanging onto a tree or puking, maybe not puking because you don't want them in the car, but if they're drunk and they're alone and they're a girl, don't take them. Cancel that ride. Try and point them to a friend of theirs and tell their friend, dude, she can't. So that because usually what'll happen, we all know, they'll cancel it and they'll just call for another one, period.
But going back to the whole teen thing, like, what about personal accountability from a parent putting their teen into hard. Like it just.
Oh my, that is going to segue into this next
Oh,
story
well, I'm
so
glad I
badly.
did it right.
No, this is really bad. And the reason I wasn't even sure if I'd bring this up, but I thought, you know what? The reason it grabbed my eye was because I thought this was a follow-up to that story that we talked about where remember the two girls who took the Uber from South Carolina to North Carolina and then back. So two different drivers got sexually abused in the middle. We thought it was this horrifying story, right? Okay, so I see Georgia family sues Uber, claims driver dropped teen off at sex trafficking suspect's home. So I'm like, is that the case? I wanted to know. So it's not. A Georgia family is suing Uber after they say a driver with the rideshare company drove their teenager to a home of an accused sex trafficker where they say she was drugged and raped. So I won't go through reading the entire thing, but I'll say this, that so they're talking about legislation, and then I'll get down to here. So Glaze said the nightmare began last November after an Uber took his 15-year-old, hear that, people, 15 years old. Just, there's not a good story out there about taking a teenager. Do not take them. It's illegal anyway, and your insurance company should tell you that. If you don't call your insurance company because you don't want to raise a flag on any of this stuff, just know you should never take a minor. I saw that Traveler put it in all caps. Never a minor. That is the thing. But the 15-year-old's stepdaughter to the home of an accused sex trafficker where police say he drugged and raped her repeatedly for 4 days. 4 days?
How did your kid go missing for 4 days and you didn't report it?
And I'm sure he did report it. The thing is why is there no Uber record pulled? Because when we get down here, he said his stepdaughter met with the suspect while playing video games online, and at some point he convinced her to do a meetup. Investigators said, and this is where they skip a lot, but they move right into this. Investigators said a surveillance photo from a gas station showed the moment the driver picked up the teenage girl at 1:40 a.m. and knew that and he drove her 30 miles to the accused predator's home. So if you're looking for somebody that's 15, I'm pretty sure they use all resources when it comes to children. All resources. Your resources for 4 days didn't pull a gas station picture of the girl. I mean, I mean, like, because then you can go back to Uber records and say, where did that ride go? I mean, it's just messed up. But so the girl's family is now suing Uber, hoping to hold them accountable for allowing their child to be driven without their permission. So they did not have an Uber Teen account set up either. From our perspective, this case would never have been a case if the Uber driver verified her age. Truth. The specifics of the case are gut-wrenching. Uber is committed to helping combat human trafficking, and this is their quote, and we continue to build on years' worth of investments in prevention efforts, including equipping our drivers with educational resources on spotting the signs of reporting suspect trafficking cases. The statement went on to say the company is also working with advocacy organizations and state attorneys general to develop educational content and help driver awareness.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I don't think that driver, I don't think that any content or educational class or watch this video that's 50 seconds on the phone before you turn on Uber tonight, I don't think anything would have changed in his mindset watching that.
But if I remember correctly, and this was a couple months ago, weren't there two Uber drivers, one that brought them there and then one that brought them back, and they brought them back to the park by the house? So yeah, it was two Uber drivers that took.
But they were just doing bad because they were just picking them up. I don't know if they're going to try and tie it, because they're suing the Uber, the driver. So like in the other case, they let the drivers out, remember? I mean, they're going to probably have to be part of that.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they let them out, which I thought was crazy too, because again, Uber Teen wasn't involved. They didn't have an Uber Teen account. Those have to be approved by the parents. So It seems like, here's my point. It seems like a lot of drivers are cool with picking up teens, and here's why. Because Uber told them they could. Uber has animated videos on all platforms about how it's okay. It shows positive Uber teen rides, and Uber should be disgusted. We all know not to take those rides, but if you're a parent, please be checking in with
be
your kid.
responsible for your kids.
Yeah, not only don't set them up an Uber account, have a talk with them, and you say that, hey, you never get an Uber, ever.
Yeah, I talk to my riders about this all the time, and people especially say Kim's very, very young, so she may not have told this.
Very young, but thank you.
Steve and I were told when we were little boys, do not get in a car with strangers. It doesn't matter if they have a lost puppy or candy or ice cream or whatever. Do not get in a car with strangers. And now we're actually paying strangers to pick up our children.
Yeah.
And when I have this conversation with passengers, if they're under 30, they're so against me.
Oh, dude, there are so many people who are okay with their kids riding in Ubers.
Yeah, but it's just we're just going to the school play and then over to my house afterwards, and all. It's like you're like so missing my point.
Yeah,
and then everybody sues each other. I don't know. It's a good topic, Steve, but it gets me all riled up because I don't know how to fix any of it. Well, Uber teen
Tom, you and I both know that never should have been. And that idea came out of a horrible situation. It probably never would have been if it hadn't been for the pandemic, because there was a lot of stats learned during the pandemic about first of all, just prior to it, drivers weren't again, I'll reference Tom and my age since Kim's young.
I'm not that much younger than you guys are.
When I turned 16, I got my license that day. I was in line, got my license that day. I wanted to drive. Before the pandemic, there were kids not getting their license till 17. The stats were starting to show they didn't care as much. By the pandemic, there was a lot of kids not getting it. A lot of kids had missed that window on how to get it. So Uber saw this window if we could actually get these kids hooked into this, and maybe they never even need to drive or learn to drive, we could really bank on this. So after 11 years of Uber paying you for every time you had to cancel because the person was a minor, because it was always no minors allowed, no ifs, ands, or buts, and they'll pay the driver to cancel the ride. Mm-hmm. That was one of their rules. In 2021, they decided that rule didn't apply anymore. And they thought it was a good idea and to actually promote Uber teen. So 11 years of knowing this would be a horrible idea. Let's never, ever, ever do this. And then the pandemic, and they're like, let's just do it. We'll make some money.
So, Steve, I know you're involved in that website, the driver
rights.
The driver rights. Can we get something going there? Let's start a petition. Let's do something. I don't want to just talk. I want to get in front of the people at Uber and do something. Just sitting here and shaking our heads and saying, and this is just wrong. It's not good enough. We need to do something.
Yeah, I know. Forever my fight was transparency, but I've been against this one since the first ride I ever took, and I knew better. If when I had started, Uber said, well, we allowed teenagers in the car, I'd have been like, not in my car. I would have just known better. A lot of people don't. They just go by Uber saying, we have Uber teens, so you can drive them. No, you can't. And it's not just if one of these happens. People could make things up. A parent could hear something from a 13, 14-year-old that is totally not on the same page, and all of a sudden just don't pick them up.
What, you think a 13 or 14-year-old might lie to their parents?
No.
I'm not even, of course, but I'm not even saying the lie part. There might just be a communication breakdown where what they're saying, and then they're like, wait, are you saying this? And they're like, sure, because they don't think that they're not understanding. I'm just saying that happens when you're raising kids. You guys, if you ever take a minor, I don't even mind saying this. You're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You're stupid.
Mhm.
What I don't get, and I've said this since they rolled this out, is all their marketing targets moms that are too busy for their kids. And
Mhm.
it baffles my brain that people are actually falling, like moms and dads are falling for this. They're like, oh, it's a convenience. I don't have to pick up my daughter and son from school. I don't have to drive them there. Like Uber can do everything for me. And I'm like, wow, like it baffles me.
Uber can do everything for me. That is so scary to even hear those words, even from Kim, who we're just here chatting. But that is just so scary to hear those words, because there are
It's
people who
very
think that.
scary,
There are
but
people who
that's what
literally
they
think that.
targeted. That's exactly what they targeted, those busy moms that don't wanna be involved and don't wanna know what's going on, and it's like, that's sad to me.
It is sad. Of course, it's sad. It's horrible. I mean, here's look, we can all talk about market to markets. We've done this a million times, or seasons. But right now, I think it is just really low. I mean, for me, I live in a different state, so the order volume's low, but it knows to throw me the orders I'll take now. But I'm like the only state that's doing that. So I can't really, I can only relate in terms of what happened before this was a law, what I would see, which was a ton more orders that didn't meet my criteria. Now 9 out of 10 meet it. I just don't see as many. So, but I don't know. I mean, if I don't know what market you're in, Golden Child, but I think that I've talked with enough people. There's a lot of people suffering right now. A lot of people hurting right now. And not just gig economy, W-2, everything. I mean, so I don't know what to chalk it up to, because I'm not going to say it's this or this or this or that, because it's not one thing. It's like it's a barrage of things right now, and getting some things straightened out. And I'm not jumping on any of the sides here, but our government needs to be just ended and restarted. It really does. I'm, and here's the thing: I don't even have to take a right-left position, but I am so sick of we elect people who literally go in and won't vote for the right thing because of people who support their campaigns. Almost all of them. Almost, if not all of them have a weak spot. Even the best politicians have weak spots because they have sponsors who they can't say anything against. Just like newspapers have connections with companies they can't write a bad article about. And so we call it, the bad press and all that. But really what it is that DoorDash supports the Chicago Tribune. So you can't write a bad article about us. Okay. But yeah, I guess one of the funny things that comes out of today, and I know a lot of you guys are going to not like this guy. Tom, I'm actually not sure. It's been a minute how you feel about him. I have always I know he had a boys club type mentality. I know he had too much fun when he was running the company, but I would rather Travis be running that company with learning his lesson about womanizing and all that kind of stuff that he did and getting too drunk than any of these other idiots. And every once in a while he would show up on an interview and it would be about his ghost kitchens and all this, because he was trying to do ghost kitchens in Europe. He's still a very smart guy. And somehow he landed himself into an article here, which is hilarious, because if you guys know the timing, everything is autonomous right now, but it's all BS. Like there's no real autonomous. We know this. But so Travis Kalanick, the former CEO of Uber, made it clear on Wednesday that he believes the company's decision to abandon its autonomous driving program was a mistake. Now, what he's talking about is when they were truly autonomous, fighting with Alphabet in the very beginning. They're not, and because this is what it's getting at. They're not autonomous anymore. They work with Waymo, and they're the dispatch company for Waymo. They have no tech about autonomous. But he said that at the Abundance, this was the Abundance Summit in LA this week. And he said, look, new management killed the autonomous car project we had going on At the time, we were really only behind Waymo, but probably catching up, and we were going to pass them in short order. I wasn't running the company when the change to end autonomous happened, but you could say, wish we had an autonomous rideshare product right now. That'd be great. So Uber sold its self-driving unit in what they're saying here as in a reported fire sale to the self-driving tech developer Aurora in 2020, which we know about that. But that was so that they could finally put a profit down. If you guys remember, they offsold all this stuff so that they could finally say, we made a profit. No, you didn't. And Tom and I have talked about this many times. This was one of those few quarters, like right there in the beginning of their first profitable one, where they sold off a ton of stuff. And basically they sold off their VTOL, which was a joke. They sold off their autonomous. So every time you hear about autonomous and you see Uber, remember, they're not autonomous. Waymo is trying, and none of them work, but all they are is just dispatching the cars now, but they still always try and make it sound like that. So at the time when they sold it, here's their quote from now. It made sense. Autonomous driving was bleeding cash, and Uber had already spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the effort. Now Waymo's self-driving cars are tooling around Bay Area, LA, Phoenix, and popping up in new markets like Austin. Waymo recently partnered in Austin with Uber, and Uber is betting its platform will be critical in growing the service. But business is business, and partnerships falter. If Waymo decides it doesn't need a middleman, Uber wants the future of transportation could find itself stuck in reverse. What do you think?
13 minutes. That's what I think.
I know. I'm watching. But I mean, honestly, I mean, this is so funny to me because everything that's going on is failing. And I'm not saying that you can't make money on a gig app. I'm saying whenever they partner up, they fail. Like, what did I see? Uber already, how long did they own it? I think they owned it for 4 months. Uber already this week sold Food Panda in Taiwan, which they bought for they sold it off for like $950 million. Or they were supposed to pay that. They hadn't even paid it because they only owned it 4 months. Like, this is just how crappy this company is. They're just like, we'll buy that. So we own it in Taiwan. They put the Uber stamp on it for a while. And then they say, we don't want it anymore. And they pull it off. But then Uber's branded around the world everywhere. And they literally completely, all of these apps, they completely illegally run everything. I mean, I'm not even beating around the bush, you guys. I'm just telling you that it is what it is. I don't like it either. But I mean, they do. Here were the things I had down for DoorDash, just FYI, because like Kim said, we're running on time here. But so DoorDash, not all is horrible, but DoorDash found that Boston drivers, 1/3 of them in Boston are on 2 wheels, motorcycle or bicycle. I thought that was a pretty interesting stat. I think that's pretty cool. DoorDash driver shot at in Denver. We talked about that one. The Tempe mix-up. We talked about that one. DoorDash opened a new Toronto office this week, but now because of the tariff ban, they don't know what to do. They're like trying to play it up like it's awesome still. But Just Eat, I wish, or not Just Eat, Skip the Dishes in Canada is the bigger than DoorDash, bigger than Uber Eats. And so I was thinking, okay, well, I wish we had Shania tonight because she would say that, well, yeah, they're the biggest. But then we found out that a Netherlands company, Just Eat Takeaway, owns Skip the Dishes too. So there isn't a Canadian-owned food delivery.
Oh, wow.
So if I was in Canada, I'd start a food delivery right now with those tariffs. Like, boom, I'd call it tariff delivery, tariff free.
Can you imagine the prices of that going up?
I guess you're losing me a little bit. You're saying they're putting tariffs on services?
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, this article alluded to the fact that, that Uber or DoorDash opened this at a time when they just tripled the size of the office during all these tariffs. And because it's San Francisco based, it's going to take a hit.
That's not how tariffs work.
Here's the funniest thing, Tom. I've actually been really listening to a lot of stuff on tariffs because I've known about them, but we've never had to firsthand really deal with them so much in the past. And honestly, I'm learning tons about tariffs, and here's what I'm learning. Nobody knows about them. Even the damn lawmakers, nobody knows about tariffs, man. So I don't know. I mean, I guess the point is maybe if Canada wanted to crunch down on something, they could, or I don't know. Maybe they could. I don't know. I'm not the Canadian government. DoorDash. I saw this thing that DoorDash is getting praise for helping the United Way. That's a PR stunt because has anybody ever delivered DoorDash for the United Way? I think they just use drivers again. It's just a digital platform. DoorDash's stock, that's a whole story of its own. I'll let you guys go down that rabbit hole on your own because as we're running out of time here. And then the Cedar Rapids man who got life without parole for killing a 21-year-old dasher in Iowa. So that is what goes on in the gig economy. So if you're new to the gig economy and that sounds fun to you, you're right in the right spot, dude. Next week will be a totally lighter note since that just went down.
You say that
an
every
hour
week.
Of darkness.
Yeah.
You say that,
but
every
it's
week.
hard. But it's hard to. But you know what? I started thinking we could do an episode of like I've seen Jason does some of these, and I'm always yelling when I watch the Gig Economy podcast because I want to say comments on it too. But I want to bring in some TikToks next week and have some discussions on. And I'm not just talking about ones where somebody falls or something. I'm talking about ones where people are doing some really dumb stuff. Like, let's assess because maybe other people will watch and go, "Wait, what? That's real." Anyway, you guys, I was trying to see if there's any comments in here. Any last comments? Throw them in. We got anything here that? See, there's another one. And actually, this is a good point because Thomas is saying I'm still waiting for a mattress delivery. I don't even know if that I guys ever told you guys this. I stopped in at a mattress firm that had DoorDash on the window. I just stopped in for shits and giggles, right? And I wanted to know. So there was a manager there, and I said, "What have you ever had a DoorDash delivery?" And he said, "We haven't had a DoorDash order here." He goes, "But there is one first of all, there's like 15 in Denver." He said, "There's one location in Denver that had one though." And he specifically said one. And I was like, "So a DoorDash driver comes," and he goes, No. He goes, "And so remember how some people said it's probably just sheets or pillows or whatever. It's just some of the side stuff." No, it's not. All it is buying furniture on the DoorDash platform and giving them a percentage. They still have it delivered with their trucks. So it's not going to be a driver do?
Huh? Oh, so the customer buys it through DoorDash, but
right instead of going to their website directly and saving 10%, they spend 10% more on the DoorDash app.
Oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that?
Because you're ordering food and it looks good, and you're like, "I need a couch and I'm lazy, and here I'll just do it."
Okay, so I go on DoorDash and I order 2 hamburgers and milkshake. I see that I can stop by 7-Eleven and get me a Pepsi, so I'll have him do that too. Oh, and I can get a mattress for my California King size bed. Yeah, okay, so I'll do that while I'm here. Yeah.
Make sure that you also say that you need 1,000 crickets from PetSmart for your lizard.
Exactly.
Yep. You're gonna have to do that. What else can we add in there?
I had to deliver 4 whole live lobsters the other day, and it freaked me out. I have to tell you.
Steve, someday I'll tell the story about when one of my sons dropped the bag of lizards going up the stairs.
No.
I'm sorry, a bag of crickets. 1,000 crickets loose in our house.
Did you want to kill him?
Yeah, Dad was not a happy camper that day, I'll tell you.
No, because those things, like, we had a lizard here forever, so I'm used to having crickets in the house, but we'd keep them out in the back, in a container, one of those cricket containers they can't get out of. But dude, if Meep didn't kill them all, we'd have to like move everything out of his house, the bearded dragon, so that he would snipe it. Because dude, that thing would make noise forever, and find some spot that he could never get him. So it was like.
So how did you get it all cleaned up then?
We had 2 cats, 2 dogs, and a lizard, and they all loved chasing them down. And it took a few days.
Wow. That would drive me crazy. I can't even imagine the sound
of a certain spray.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, if you guys have never had that happen to you, it's the worst. Having any kind of lizard is a whole experience. But make sure you are in control of your cricket situation, or you will be hating life forever. Anyway, guys, I got to stick it to under the time again. And by the way, Kim pointed out this new green screen. I know it really sucks. So I'm gonna have a new green screen. That's the best I came up with. No, but there's gonna be stuff on the wall. This is my new area I will be, but it will have different lighting by next week. So that's all we got.
Yeah, and don't forget the lunar eclipse in a couple of hours.
Oh yeah. Do you have it? What is any time that we can use as a marker? Any zone?
1 a.m.
1 a.m. Central Time?
Wherever you are.
Oh, wherever you are. Okay. All right, guys. That's it for the week. And nailed it again. Didn't go over. We'll be back next week with funny stories. And I mean it. So Kim's always like, you always say that, but funny stories.
Right. I'm gonna bring funny. I'm gonna bring the funny next week, Steve.
Everybody bring the funny, because it's hard to not get into the dark, because the dark is everywhere.
Just have to be careful with the music in some of these.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of the ones I'm seeing, that's what I'm saying. They're not the Jason ones that have music backgrounds. These are like incidents. So it's just like voice. I'm surprised this many people can go this wrong. Like I watch some things where I'm like, you gotta be, I mean, like it's beyond common sense missing.
Last year, I was delivering paper towels and it was icy out, and I slipped and I fell and I face planted into the paper towels. I'm like, this is so going to be on TikTok tomorrow.
So you guys, next week will be a peaceful, kind week. So show up. We'll see you here then. Till then, have a great week. Be safe, earn smart, and Kim.
Kindness is always free.
Yep. Good night, guys.